Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call us right now for more help at 866-945-8070. Hey, Seth here from the world famous Nerd Enterprises Incorporated, bringing to you how to reconcile your monthly PayPal statements really easily. I found a new import-export program. I've used Transaction Pro Importer for years. Love the product, but I was having some issues where I was doing some imports and files were duplicated and then I needed to delete them. The deleter cost extra. And it's very limited in terms of how you can filter transactions in the Transaction Pro deleter in order to get rid of them. And here I had literally duplicated every single sale for an entire year with this client. And so I needed to find a better solution, and I found one. And it has all three processes in one app: import, delete, and export. And based on the fact that I was using Transaction Pro for 3 different clients and needed an extra user for each client, it was costing me $25 per month per client approximately, or about $75 a month. With this product, which is SaasAnt Excel transactions, I'm paying $30 a month for all of it, for all the clients, for all the 3 product types of import, delete, and export. So all in all, I pretty much immediately switched over to this. I love Karen. I think she's got a great product. But at the end of the day, I have to go with what's going to be most efficient and cost effective for me. And I also think you're going to agree that the interface on this is much, much better, cleaner, easier to do the mappings, everything. So in every possible way, I felt that this was an improvement over Transaction Pro Importer. Let's see what this looks like. I'm going to actually do the whole process. I downloaded the CSV files for a client's monthly PayPal statements, and we're going to do the whole thing from start to finish. So let's go over to my folder here. We are going to start with his July file now. And first thing I'm going to do is just save it as an Excel file. This way I can format things and work with it that way. And I can save it with all of my changes. So just getting that into Excel. Now let's do some quick formatting. We want to get the headers bolded, freeze the pane so I can split the screen, get the dates in a nice date format so everything lines up perfectly, right? And then let's get these numbers formatted, Control and the number 1. I like to use this. I want the comma separator. I want negative numbers to be red. All right, now let's highlight the entire spreadsheet. Control A, Control A. Double click the right or left extreme of any column, and it automatically widens everything up exactly as wide as it needs to be to accommodate the longest piece of information on any record. And just a quick Control S to update those changes and save them. And now what I want to do is I need 2 copies of this tab, right? So moving my mouse down to the tab, Control, mouse click, left click, drag to the right, release the mouse button, double click. This is going to be for money in. Same thing, Control, mouse click, drag to the right, let go of the mouse button, double click, money out. All right, let's go back to money in, and we're going to sort this data by amount. This is money in, so we want to get rid of all the negative numbers. Leaves us with that. Let's go to money out. Now we do the opposite. We want to keep all the negative numbers. Get rid of all that. Okay, let's focus on money in. Now I just want to sort everything by description. Okay. Now for money in, we really want sales, right? I really just want things that I can import as sales receipts. This is a hold cancellation. This is a hold cancellation. This is a deposit, which is probably already in QuickBooks because I always do the banking, from the actual bank account first. So when this deposit came into PayPal from my bank account, this would have already gotten recorded. So what I like to do is one more time, Control, click, drag to the right, let go of the button, double click, we'll call this other deposits. Right, and I just want these in there just so I can, so I can check later and make sure I have what I need. If not, there's 3 transactions literally that I'll need to record separately from doing the import, right? Obviously it only takes a couple of seconds, right? And so I'll delete those from here. Perfect. So now we're left with just express checkout payments. So these are all sales that were made through the client's website. Now, important to note, at this point, if these were sales of different items, then you'd want to add in a column here for the QuickBooks item, right? I'm not going to do that because in this case, I've already got the sales recorded through the client's sales channel. These are just the payments that I ultimately need to match up. He sells things through his website. He uses a processing solution for his website. The sales are recorded. Now I just have to kind of bring the payments in and run those through the sales channel's clearing account, basically. So in other words, all of these payments are going to get mapped to a single item, which is going to route these funds from, it's actually Shopify, so from my Shopify clearing into PayPal. So they're going to be deposits into PayPal, and I created an item based on his website called like website sales. That will, so basically we're going to credit the Shopify clearing and debit the PayPal account to get the money from the sales clearing, the Shopify clearing, into the PayPal account. So important to understand that context here in terms of how I'm going to do this import. So if you're using this to import the actual sales and the PayPal payments at once, you're going to need to add a column here where you're going to map whatever item it was that's sold on each of these line items, right? That was all just to say that. The other deposits we don't need to do anything with. Now let's deal with money out. And the way this tool works, you're going to be able to use the same file twice in one session, basically, to import both the money in and the money out. It's a nice thing about being able to do this with Excel. I think Transaction Pro, you can do it with Excel, but I think it's easier to do it with a CSV, and then in that case, you would need to create a separate file for each import that you're going to do. Anyway, so we sort this by description as well. We want to see what we're looking at here. Here we are going to need to add 2 columns to set up the items that we want things mapped to in QuickBooks. So I'm going to go get the last file that I did just to make it easy. And you want this to be exact because in the import tool, you're going to want to save your mappings, which means the columns have to be titled in exactly the same fashion. So here is the last month's file that I did. And we're going to go over to money out. And I need these 2 columns, the QuickBooks item and the QuickBooks fee item. So insert 2 columns, Control C, Control V, just to paste them in, right? Let's go here. And really, they're all, anything that has a fee associated with it is going to go to PayPal fees, right? Like all of these. Here we just want to get rid of all the duplicates now. I just needed this so I could get the stuff in here, so I can now assign it to whichever rows it goes to. So let's go to, we're in the Data tab up here. We'll go to Remove Duplicates. We do not need to expand the selection. Remove duplicates. Okay. And now I'm just going to copy these down to the bottom so I can easily find them and use them, right? So Express Checkout Payment. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to book these all to, because I can go to the right and kind of look to see who this was paid to. Reality is, and an Alt drop down, because I have choices further down in the column, the Alt and down arrow will give you a drop down. Excel is smart enough to recognize, oh, he probably wants to choose from the list of things that are already here in this column, right? So anything that's not obvious, I'm just going to put to uncategorized expenses. I just want to get them into QBO. It'll be easy enough to recode them once they're in QBO, right? So same with general payments. These are all going to go to uncategorized. The holds I have PayPal holds for because I run those through a separate asset account just so they can wash out really easily. Now the refunds are going to go to sales returns and allowances. Okay, a payment reversal, really the same thing as a refund. Or this actually might be a payment that he made that's being reversed. Probably is. So let's just put that to uncategorized for now. Website payments would also be uncategorized. Right, and like I said, I'll get them categorized or go over them with the client afterwards. For now, I just want to get the stuff into QBO as quickly as possible. Once it's in QBO, it's kind of easy to deal with, right? So I've got my money in. One last thing on the money out. For import purposes, we need to reverse the polarization of the numbers. That's a good word, right? So I take the -1 and multiply it by all of this. So Control C on the -1, Alt E, S, V for values, M for multiply. Click OK. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Undo. And let's just, I got like butterfingers going on here with my keyboard. Just want to delete anything that I don't need. And as you see, what I'm doing actually is I'm deleting all the extra rows and columns that are in here that could be in here actually, just to be absolutely certain. That will also reduce your file size. Because if you have some character sticking way out, a few rows down, a few columns to the right, that actually increases the file size and also is going to screw up your import. So it's a good idea to just go to the very bottom and highlight everything below and just delete the rows and columns that way, just to make sure that you don't have any extra stuff in here. And now we're ready to rock and roll. And I love this because I can leave this file open while I'm working in it, which is actually really helpful. So now we're going to go over to our tool. We're going to come over here. We're going to take the July file, drag it in. Don't bother with the template. The template here, I looked at it, it's very generic because it doesn't assume to know which kind of import you're doing. Is it a sales receipt or a check? So skip that for now. To go to continue, the reality is it makes it very easy to do the mapping. Okay, so notice it brings in, it shows me all my tabs. This first tab is the original, all the data. Then I have my money in, which is what I'm going to do first. So I click on that, and that's going to come in as a sales receipt. Now I already have a saved mapping. The key to this, before you have a saved mapping, is to choose this option here where it says multi-line mapping for multi-column. That's what's going to allow you to, for example, take the fees and put them on the second line, and take whatever the gross amount is and put that on the first line. And remember that once you do that, you'll also need to map something as the product or service to go on each of those first two lines. Really, really important to understand that. Once you choose that option, then you'll start going through. Notice on the left here, it shows me everything that's in my Excel file, every column. And all I have to do is go here and map it to the appropriate field in QuickBooks Online. So the mapping is done sort of the opposite way from what Transaction Pro does. So let's go down and see what this looks like. So I already mapped the date, and if you're looking for something, it's really simple. You just type date, and you don't want service date, right? Because those are for the service line items. You want this to be the sales receipt date, right? And so you click down here and associate it with the sales receipt date. So it's best to type in what you're searching for. You don't want to scroll through the whole list, right? And here we are. So notice on the gross amount, I have it to product or service amount 1. That means that's going on line 1 in the details of the sales receipt. And sure enough, notice the fees are on line 2. Now, as soon as I've done this, I have to know that these are mapping the amounts. Again, I also need to make sure I map the items that are going to go with them. So let me jump down and show you what that looks like. Now, like I said earlier, if you're mapping different items to the different transactions and you've put that in your file, then you're going to see that column here that you would have created for the QuickBooks item. I did it a little differently in this case. I'm not doing it that way. So the way I'm doing it is one item for everything. So I use one of these default empty columns, right? And I use that for the customer because I have one customer for all of this. They're all going to a customer called PayPal Payments, right? The second empty column I'm using for the as the default for the deposit to, which is going to be to my PayPal clearing, which I just copied and pasted these. You should copy and paste this stuff right out of the QuickBooks file. This way, there's no mistaking it. There's no chance of a typo, right? Over here, I'm mapping what's the product or service for line 1. And again, I have one product or service that I'm using for all of them. It's called PayPal Payments. Just like the customer, I named them both the same way, right? And that item is mapped to, it's mapped from Shopify Clearing so that it knows to, ultimately it's going to pull that money out of Shopify Clearing and put it into the PayPal account. All right, and then of course line 2, product or service, where the fee is going to go to PayPal fees, which is also set up as a product or service in QuickBooks Online. And the way I found these, of course, is I just put in, this is the product or service, the name of the product, not the amount. So I just put product, right? And here's product service 1, product service 2. So the number, of course, gives you the line number that you're doing this for, right? That's pretty much it. Everything else is really straightforward. I took the sales tax amount and mapped that to sales tax because that's its own column in the Excel file and that's its own field in QuickBooks Online. Since I am using a generic name for all this, in case I want to be able to easily, in order to create the right audit trail, right? That's been my new thing lately. I've been talking a lot about this, is creating a good audit trail. So if I ever need to figure out how to get from what I ended up in QuickBooks Online back to that Excel file that I'm about to import, this gives me that audit trail. I'm bringing in the email, and notice I'm putting it in the description of line 1. The name is going to the memo, right, for that sales receipt. That way I just have easy tracking, but I don't have to populate my customer name, my customer center, customer list with all these customers that we have, right? So it just makes it easy to track if I need to. Of course, the transaction ID from the monthly PayPal statement, which is its own column in that Excel file, going to the reference number here, right? And now we're back up to what we've already seen, where we have the gross and the fee. Obviously, we don't need to map the net. That's derived from the gross minus the fee. So if you're kind of following along, what I suggest you do, actually pause the video right now and go prep a file. Go take a monthly PayPal statement and prep it. Get to this point. Get caught up with me where I'm at here in the video, and then move on. Hit the pause button. Meanwhile, I'm going to move on, and we're going to click continue. Okay, and it gives me a preview. Right, all the columns are here. And you can see, because I reversed the polarization of the number, no, I'm sorry, that's going to be on the next one. This one is fine as is. We have the positive amounts going to PayPal payments. Again, that's the one item I'm using for the product or service, and the negative amounts for the fees going to PayPal fees. So all that works perfectly. Let's click upload. The interface on this is beautiful. It lets you know very clearly what it's working on. And notice what it shows you across here. I love this. It just makes it so clear. This is the file name that I'm working on. I'm in the money in sheet is what I'm importing. The entity, the type of transaction I'm importing is the sales receipt, right? And it's got a reference number on it that just gets associated with this actual import job. It only takes a minute or so. That's why I'm waiting, and I'm purposely not editing the wait out, because I want you to get the full experience so you can see what's really involved in this. It's so easy. When I'm not taking the time to explain it, I can have this whole process done. I can have the monthly PayPal statement reconciled all in under 15 minutes. Let's put it that way. In many cases now it's under 5 because I've got the mapping saved. I'm just kind of boom, boom, boom going through it. The only thing that slows me down a little is those other deposits and the holds and things, right? So now it says it's completed successfully. So watch this. Now I'm going to click next, and it's going to take me right back to the screen. It shows me the money in import is completed. So now we're going to do the money out. And these are going to be checks. You could do expenses too. I just chose to do checks. Again, I've already got my import saved, right? But again, you're going to want to do multi-line mapping for multi-column, especially with PayPal, because remember, some of the money out are going to be refunds, which means there's a fee line item because PayPal gives you the fees back in those cases. So got to do the multi-line item mapping, right? So again, date goes to date, pretty clear. The description is going to be from the description in the Excel file right there, right? Here's the item. Right here, I essentially mapped it by column. I didn't have to. I could have just done a static item, but it was just easier than using one of those default blank columns that it gives you down here at that point to just do it that way, since I knew it was going to be the same. On the money in, I could have done something similar with the item that I'm using to bring the first line of the payments in. I just didn't choose to do it that way. No rhyme or reason. Let's go back here. So there goes the fee. Transaction ID goes to the check number. That's the reference number. Email address I'm bringing in again into the memo. The name is going to be the payee. In this case, I actually do want the name in the payee. I don't want to use a generic name because these are payments out to individual companies or people, right? Let me click away from that. Didn't need any of this. So here the bank account, right? Where is it coming out of? Again, I need that static to the PayPal clearing. I just wish they would make this column a little wider so it was easier to see what you were doing on this. All right, and that's basically all we need for the money out part. So let's go continue. And some of you are wondering, maybe we're wondering this right up front, why not use the PayPal feeds in QBO? The PayPal feeds in QBO have gotten better, but they're still basically a mess. Right, because you still have, what's it called? Did I not flip these amounts over. It almost seems like maybe I didn't. I thought I did. Yeah, I did. Okay, never mind. I just didn't expect to see the negative there, but maybe that's what that winds up looking like. For example, on the money in, if you use the banking feed for PayPal in QBO, it downloads the gross amounts of the sales and the fees separately. So that alone is a mess. And I just find this process to be much, much cleaner. Let's click upload. If I did forget to switch the polarization on the numbers, it will tell me. It'll give me an error. Nope. Looks like it's working. Oh, it failed. Let's see what happens. So this is good. Normally I would be inclined to edit this out, but I want you to also see how nice it is when you do get errors. So yeah, it didn't do the polarization. I could have sworn it did. Maybe I didn't save it after I did that. Let's go to, oh, when I checked before, I was looking at money in. All right, so -1, Ctrl C, highlight all the amounts, paste special values, and multiply. All right, and then I'm just getting rid of, I always do that, I always just delete the extra stuff that might be in there, just to be sure. Let's save this, and now I'll have to sort of reattach the file. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the beginning. We're going to go to New Import, and I'm actually going to say Clear Uploads. Alt-Tab to bring up my folder there. Let's bring this in. It warns me that there's a duplicate file, that I've already done this file. I'm going to say OK, because I know what I'm doing. We're going to say Continue. Of course, the money in part is already done, but it no longer recognizes that because I attached it, all over again as a new file. So we're just going to go straight to money out and checks. And I'm going to whiz through this now. Again, when I'm not stopping to slow down and I've got my mapping saved, it's this quick. Straight to upload. And the deleter on this works beautifully. So if you make a mistake and import something by accident again, I'll show you what the deleter does. That's really cool. It basically lets you, especially since, if you use this product, see now it's successful. If I use this product in the deleter, I can actually look at already imported files, right? If it's not from this product, then you just go to QuickBooks Online real time, and you can search by transaction type and by date created, or by transaction date, or by last updated date. So it's got some really good filters on it that makes it really easy to isolate what you want to delete and then delete them. It just works really well. All right, we'll go back to the new import screen. Although we're done, so now let me go into QuickBooks. I should have logged in before, but I forgot to. Actually, I got booted out and closed it. All right, meanwhile, this was the last statement I reconciled for June. Let's get the July statement up. Those are here. Okay, ending balance $46.95. Let's do this. Reconcile. Uh, 07/31/17. Just make sure. Always double check these things. Start reconciling. Now the only thing I want to check before I actually reconcile anything is, remember I had those other deposits. Check on those. 9102.50. I just want to flip the sort, look at it that way because I'm lazy, I don't want to scroll. 9102.50 is good. 5020 for the hold. Probably will not be in here. Right, that's the 50/20 actual payment that was being held and then reversed. 96.39. Back the other way. Of course it's not in this. So let's record those two deposits real quick. Bank deposit. Alright, PayPal, the date, July 11th. The account is going to be the PayPal holds. The amount is going to be 50/20. I'm very lazy. Plus, this eliminates the chance of typos. And that can create a lot of extra work. One little typo can really cause a delay. So that's going to be good. We're going to say save and new because I want to do the other one. Other one is from 7/20. Paste that in. Hold. 96.39 amount. Save and close now. And let's check everything. Now if I am off, I'm going to show you why. 437.07. It's going to be, let's focus on the deposits here. It's exactly this one. These are, you know, for the longest time with PayPal, what would happen, if you didn't have the money in your PayPal account, when you paid for something, it would draw the difference, or if there was zero in your PayPal account, it would draw the whole amount out of your bank account or your credit card, whatever your funding source was. Nowadays, when you go to pay for something with PayPal, it gives you a choice. You can either choose to have it taken directly out of your funding source or out of the PayPal balance. Of course, if you choose PayPal balance and there's not enough, then it goes to the funding source. So what this is an example of where he chose to use his funding source as the method of payment through PayPal. So the entire amount essentially comes out, and it doesn't impact your PayPal balance. It just takes the money out of your bank account and pays the payee. So in this case, it was just one transaction. I'm going to click right into it and edit it now. And for now, I'm just going to stick it in uncategorized. The name of the game right now, in the interest of efficiency, is just get the stuff in here and get it reconciled. Then I can go through my uncategorized and I can recode things based on where I know things should go. And then, of course, I can review whatever remains with my client later on. I have the technology now with things like Smartsheet that I use, where I can quickly drop whatever remains from uncategorized into a Smartsheet worksheet and send that to the client. Say, go in here and comment on this stuff and let me know what it's for. Right? Meanwhile, we're done. Finished now. Let's see how long that took with me slowing down to explain. Just about 25 minutes probably after I edit out some of the little breaks and extra things that you don't need. And I'm done. That's it, folks. That is how you reconcile your PayPal account with ease using this new product I found because I got stuck on something that Transaction Pro wasn't helpful for in terms of deleting the duplicates. So I said, let me try this other product out. I tried it and I immediately fell in love. So like I said earlier, Transaction Pro is a great product. I love Karen, great people behind that product, but ultimately this just works better for me for now. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. As always, I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you on the web.